Lammy, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
David Lammy, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
And Keir Starmer, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
Keir Starmer, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
Keir Starmer, you can't hide.
We charge you with genocide.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
Okay, we're going to try a new one because we're here. Because in that building, Parliament in a little while will vote on the third reading of the bill that seeks to ban the ability for public bodies to boycott not just the state of Israel, but any state or any company that is accused of human rights abuses or of destroying our planet. So, repeat after me. We want justice.
We want justice.
We want action.
We want action.
We want boycotts.
We want boycotts.
We want sanctions.
We want sanctions.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want action.
We want action.
We want boycotts.
We want boycotts.
We want sanctions.
We want sanctions.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want action.
We want action.
We want boycotts.
We want boycotts.
We want sanctions.
We want sanctions.
We want justice.
We want justice.
We want action.
We want action.
We want boycott.
We want boycotts.
We want sanctions.
We want sanctions.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
And in our thousands, in our millions.
We are all Palestinians.
In our thousands, in our millions.
We are all Palestinians.
In our thousands, in our millions.
We are all Palestinians.
And brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
Brick by brick, wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
Free, free.
Palestine.
In our thousands, in our millions.
We are all Palestinians.
In our thousands, in our millions.
We are all Palestinians.
In our thousands, in our millions.
We are all Palestinians.
Thank you for joining us today as we come together to oppose the anti-boycott bill. At the start of 2024, the Palestinian flag flies high across the world. It has once again taken its rightful place as a symbol of liberation, as an inspiration and as a guiding light to everyone who struggles against imperialism. Millions of people have filled the streets of every town and every city, demanding a full and immediate ceasefire. In every workplace, in every school, in every university, the struggle of the Palestinian people has been made visible. At every turn, the British government has responded to our solidarity with repression. They have tried to ban our slogans. They have tried to ban our flags. They have even tried to ban our demonstrations. And now they have brought a law to the Commons that tries to ban us from enforcing the will of Palestinian civil society and boycotting the state of Israel. Not content with destroying the British school system, Michael Gove and his cronies want to make it illegal for public bodies to make financial decisions based on moral considerations. Now, at the moment, this is specifically targeted against boycotts of Israeli apartheid. But it's important that we remember that this law is also a much broader attack on local democracy and on any campaign for social and climate justice in Britain. If this bill passes, it would become illegal for public bodies to boycott any company or any state which abuses human rights or our planet. From Ireland to South Africa, boycotts have always been a means for ordinary citizens to engage in anti-colonial resistance, to stand in solidarity with our friends and our comrades who are right now standing up to colonial oppression the world over. The bill on which MPs will be voting today forms part of a coordinated worldwide campaign against Palestine solidarity. Similar laws have been proposed in Germany, in France, and in the United States. The imperialists always turn to the police and the courts because they know that we, the international solidarity movement, have the people on our side. If the war criminals in government really want to know what happens to politicians who take on this movement, all they have to do is ask Suella Braverman. Our movement has beaten every attempt to criminalise our solidarity with the Palestinian people. And make no mistake, we will beat them this time too. We will chant, we will march, we will picket, we will boycott, we will force our institutions to divest from their complicity in genocide. We will do anything and everything that we can so that one day soon, from the river to the sea, we will see Palestine free. I'm really pleased to welcome our first speaker to the stage. She's the co-founder of Namod, a movement of British Jews working to end the occupation. Please give a very warm welcome to M. Hilton.
Good evening, and thank you to the PSC for having me here to speak tonight on this very important issue. I stand here today because I am appalled by the government's ongoing attempts to use divide and rule politics to disrupt solidarity between the many thousands of people who want to protect our right to protest, and especially to ensure that standing up for Palestinian human rights is not criminalized or repressed. In a moment where we watch with horror and despair at the ongoing besiegement and bombardment of Gaza, it is shocking that the government has chosen to bring back a bill that seeks not only to restrict our collective rights to protest, but it's clearly a direct attack on the Palestine solidarity movement. In particular, I am shocked and appalled by how this bill is being promoted by the government as a way to combat anti-Semitism. I know that there are many in my community who are worried about their safety right now, and to be clear, everyone deserves to feel safe wherever they live. But you do not fight anti-Semitism through the suppression of Palestine solidarity. We are not kept safe by draconian, anti-democratic laws that restrict our rights or our rights to boycott. We will never be safe by besieging Gaza or building apartheid walls. We keep each other safe. I am here to make clear to our political leaders that Jewish safety is inextricably linked to the safety of all minoritized and marginalized communities, including Palestinian safety, through a commitment to human rights and justice for all. It is never too late to prevent further loss of life and suffering. Every child killed in Gaza today would be alive if we had a ceasefire yesterday, and a ceasefire today would save lives tomorrow. Those are the stakes when the government tries to curb our rights to protest. I am hopeful that despite attempts to silence and marginalize us, there is a growing chorus of Jewish voices and movements working both to oppose this bill and to end apartheid occupation and build freedom for all with peace and justice and equality. I am grateful and proud to be here today with you all and to say that true freedom is a collective endeavor. None of us can be truly free until we all are. We choose life over death, love over fear, solidarity over division. We must safeguard the ways in which we can peacefully take a stand against injustice and protect our democratic rights and civil liberties and safeguard our right to protest for Palestinian freedom. We must stop this bill in its tracks. Oppose the boycott bill. Thank you.
Palestine! 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 Palestine!
Friends, we see too much absolutely shocking politics coming from over there, and we know the kind of debate that's taking place there this evening, and we know the kind of outcome that we want. The two main parties in that parliament both support the genocide. They both refuse to call for a ceasefire. But there are other parties in that parliament that stand with the Palestinian people, that condemn the criminal war on Gaza and back a ceasefire with all their might. And I'm really pleased to welcome our next speaker, Tommy Shepherd, who is an SNP MP for Edinburgh East. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you very much. In about 90 minutes' time, the Tory government will force through a vote to take forward legislation which will, for the first time in our history, prevent people taking non-violent protest about something they believe in. It will prevent elected representatives throughout this country from discharging and respecting the views of the people who elected them. And it will elevate Israel uniquely above all other countries to be a place that we are not allowed to criticize. It is a foul and shoddy piece of legislation. But I have to say, for it to happen at this time seems particularly disgraceful and grotesque. While the bombs are still falling, the only action of this government in terms of new legislation is to try and prevent criticism of the people who are causing the greatest humanitarian catastrophe the world has ever known. It is shocking beyond measure, and this bill ought to be defeated. And I say to you on behalf of my own party, the Scottish National Party, every one of our MPs over there tonight will be voting against this bill, as we have done consistently throughout its passage. And I know also that there is disquiet, even amongst some of the Conservative benches, about just how far this shocking piece of legislation is going, and we will continue to fight it at every turn, and I am sincerely hopeful that we will be able to make sure that this bill is not enacted and does not curtail our freedoms before the next election comes. The Foreign Secretary, David Cameron, said yesterday, yet again, this platitude that the British government believes that Israel has the right to self-defense. Well, we need to be clear about that. When you start carpet bombing residential areas, that is not self-defense, it is a war crime. When you attack education and health facilities, that is not self-defense, it is a war crime. And when you slaughter 10,000 innocent children, that is not self-defense, that is a war crime. And rather than pass this legislation, which it's seeking to do, which will prevent other people taking sanctions against Israel, this government ought to be applying those sanctions against Israel itself. Because many of us are so fed up to hear the pious words of UK government ministers saying how much they believe Israel should abide by international law, even as the evidence mounts about the egregious breaches of that international law, and their silence about saying anything about it makes them complicit in what is happening. my friends, I want to say two other things. The first is that those who support what is happening in Gaza, you will not find them coming out to try and defend it or promote it. What you will find is that they are spending all of their time trying to demonize and undermine the protests against it. That is why they refer to what we are doing as hate marches. They refer to what we are doing as anti-Semitic. And as the previous speaker said, we never should have to choose between fighting anti-Semitism and standing out for the human rights of Palestinians. They are two sides of the same coin as we promote basic values for humanity. And we need to be very clear about that as the weeks unfold throughout the rest of this year. But the final thing I want to say is this. 2024 is an election year. I will be fighting that in Edinburgh. Lots of people will be fighting that all over the United Kingdom. And in every corner of the United Kingdom, we need to make sure that what people are doing now and what they are not doing now becomes an election issue. People, you should make sure that the people you vote for are assessed and judged against the metric of what they have done over the last 3 months to try and curtail the slaughter that is happening in the Middle East and to promote the rights of the Palestinian people and defend basic human values. And their judgment day is coming. Please make sure of it.
Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Our next speaker is the former leader of the Green Party and current member of the House of Lords. Please give a warm welcome to Baroness Natalie Bennett.
Well, thank you, and that's Natalie to all of you, just to be very clear. I want to start in a non-traditional way. I'm going to ask everyone to be quiet and silent for a second, because I think it is important that we all reflect right now on exactly what is happening to 1.9 million people in Gaza. I was looking at a briefing before I came out from Oxfam. 85% of the population has been displaced, many of them multiple times. We have, the last figures I have are nearly 23,000 people dead, more than half of them children. And just one figure you might not have heard. The Israeli Defense Forces themselves say they have made 10,000 airstrikes on Gaza. That's one for every 220 people in Gaza. So I'm just going to ask everyone to take a moment, because that's why we're here, and I think it's important we reflect on why we are here. So let's just take a moment. Thank you. Thank you. Now we can get angry, because it is really important that we get angry. Because what's about to happen over there in the House of Commons shortly is the boycott and sanctions bill will go through. I can promise you Caroline Lucas, the Green MP, will be there with the SNP fighting against it, but the reality is we know that will go through, and that is an absolute disgrace for the British Parliament. Now what will happen after that? It will come down to the other end, the House of Lords end, and I can promise you that the Green Party will be in there making every bit of case we can against this bill and for democracy. Because This is a very, very strange place. We have some very strange historic buildings, but that's a reminder of the fact that for centuries, people have been engaging in the democratic process of boycotts and sanctions. People boycotted slave sugar centuries ago, and that's a right that they had then and they were able to exercise then. Of course, there was such a huge effort against the apartheid regime in South Africa. Of course, we've got now people across the country saying, get our pension money out of fossil fuels, get our pension money out of polluting companies, stop supporting the tobacco companies, the arms companies. It's been going for centuries, and yet what our government wants to do is stop this basic point of democracy. And we have to say, no, we are going to stand up for democracy. Because of course this is about what happens in Gaza. Of course it's about what happens in so many other places where Britain's friends and allies are committing human rights abuses. But it's about what happens here. It's about the fact that we have local governments, local organisations making democratic choices, and Westminster is saying, no, we're going to stamp all over your democracy here in the UK, and we're not going to take that. Now, I'm afraid, going to quote David Cameron to finish off. To quote the government that says, every organisation in the UK, every organisation they can control, has to follow British foreign policy. Well, we say no, we can stand up and have our own principles and rights and take action on human rights and the rule of law. We're going to do that. This is what's happening with so many bills, so many acts. The Nationality and Borders Act, the Police Crime and Sentencing Act. We have to stand up in this country for the right to have something resembling a democracy. And you're doing that tonight, so well done. Keep doing it. We're going to take it down the House of Lords and do what we can down there. And as Tommy said, there is going to be something I don't think they can stop us doing. We are going to have an election in the UK fairly soon. Make sure you think about how you use your vote in that election, because boy, it really matters for the people of Britain, for the people of Palestine, for standing up for the human rights, the rule of law, standing up for right. Thank you. Thanks, Natalie. Thank you so much for all your work. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall,
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
brick by brick, wall by wall,
Israeli apartheid has to fall.
brick by brick,
Wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick,
Wall by wall.
Israeli apartheid has to fall. Friends, one of the greatest supporters of the Palestinian cause is Sinn Féin, the party from Ireland. It's a real pleasure to welcome in our midst this evening John Finucane, MP for Belfast North. Please give a big hand to John.
Friends, I speak tonight to extend solidarity from the people of Ireland. Sinn Sinn Féin is proud to have been at the forefront of condemning the Israeli onslaught against the people of Gaza, and we continue to call on the international community to press for full, unequivocal and permanent ceasefire. The international community must speak with one voice. The world must demand that Israel stops targeting Gaza. It must end the collective punishment of the Palestinian people, and it must adhere to international law and stop this indiscriminate slaughter. At times like these, it is easy to feel helpless. It's easy to feel that there is nothing that we can do. But my friends, there is something that we can do. We can support the call for boycott, divestment and sanctions against the system of Israeli apartheid. We know from the experience of defeating apartheid in South Africa that strengthening the BDS's campaign through the entire international community provides one of the best means of bringing about a just and lasting settlement for the Palestinian people. Boycotting carries a noble tradition in Ireland. Indeed, the word first entered the English language during the Land War of the 1880s. But the Irish experience of boycotting didn't stop there. For nearly 40 years ago, in 1984 in Dublin, a young 21-year-old Mary Manning, a till worker in Dunstores, refused to handle grapefruits from apartheid South Africa. This simple act of refusal was a spark that lit the fuse of change in Ireland. Within 4 years, in 1987, the Dublin government became one of the first in the West to ban South African goods, as it took a moral stand against apartheid. We know the role that boycotting played in ultimately defeating apartheid in South Africa, and that is why they want to ban BDS as a tactic today. But we cannot be deterred. Israel is an apartheid state and it should be treated as such. It is no coincidence that today we see a free and democratic South Africa that is referring Israel to the International Court of Justice. This is a welcome move, and it is time for Ireland to again show leadership and join that referral, because we know all too well from our own history of colonial oppression, occupation and conflict that political conflicts are not resolved by military solutions. Political conflicts demand political responses, and that is why we need to see a global movement towards a lasting, a viable peace process for the people of Israel and the people of Palestine. The BDS campaign must be part of that wider strategy. As painful and heart-wrenching as it is to watch on our television screens day and daily, the Palestinian people do not need our tears right now. They need our voices. They need our cries of outrage, and they need our shouts of solidarity. They need the global anti-war movement to speak with one voice and simply say to Israel, stop. Stop the siege, stop the bombings and stop the slaughter. We must say ceasefire and ceasefire now. The killings... Friends, the killings, the annexations, the forced displacement, all of it must stop. Stop the blockade, stop the apartheid, stop the genocide and stop the ethnic cleansing. None of this horror can be allowed to continue, because this is truly a defining moment for our generation. Our children and our grandchildren will look back at this moment in time. Let us make sure that we can look them in the eye when asked and say that we did not stand idly by, that we did not fail to act, that we did not remain silent. Tell them that you spoke out. Tell them that you marched. Tell them that you took to the streets. Tell them that you protested. Tell them that amidst all the clamour, your voice was heard. Because the world has a stark choice to make: to stand with the oppressed or not, to stand with the dispossessed or not, to uphold the primacy of international law or not. We can spectate, numbed by silence and frozen with inaction, while world leaders tear up the UN Charter, or we can speak out, and speak out for peace and justice now. All of us here today know which side we are on. We're on the side of humanity, the side of decency, democracy and international law. Everyone, Palestinian or Israeli, has a right to live in peace and security, to live safe from the threat of violence. So, my friends, let us be unequivocal. There is now only one correct political and humanitarian position. The war must end, and it must end immediately. With one voice here in London, we call for a complete and immediate ceasefire. We call for an urgent resolution to this humanitarian catastrophe, and we call for the establishment of a lasting, of a just peace between Palestine and Israel, one that demands an end to occupation and apartheid imposed on the Palestinian people. To our Palestinian brothers and sisters from Gaza City to Ramallah, from Jenin to Rafah, in East Jerusalem and in refugee camps the world over, the people of Ireland stand with you. The people here tonight in London stand with you. And we will stand with you again globally this coming Saturday. You are not alone, because in our thousands and in our millions, we are all Palestinians. Free Palestine!
In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! In our thousands, in our millions! Our next speaker is an MP who has never wavered in his support for the Palestinian people. Please give a very warm welcome to the MP for Hayes and Harlington, John McDonnell!
Let me just say 90 seconds, that's all I need, because the debate in Parliament is starting in about 5 minutes. Let me just say this. We will be voting against this bill tonight. The Tories will seek to push it through, but what's interesting, there's even some Tories now who are voting against this bill. Tomorrow, as has been said, I'm sure, the South Africans will be going to The Hague. Jeremy Corbyn is accompanying them. For those of you who've read the evidence that they've submitted to the ICC, International Criminal Court, you will see that their case is irrefutable. It goes through, it examines and confirms the war crimes that have been committed, the denial of water, fuel and medical resources, the forcing of people from their homes and their homelands, and the indiscriminate use of weapons to murder civilians. The case, I believe, will stand up. And when it stands up, it will give us even further evidence that we need to demonstrate the use of boycott, disinvestment and sanctions against regimes that abuse human rights across the globe. That's why it's important that we oppose this legislation, but if it goes through, we secure a commitment that after the next general election it will be repealed and we restore the right to people. We restore the right to people to take on these human rights abusers. Whether it is in Saudi Arabia, whether it's in Israel, whether it's in Russia or anywhere else, we stand for human rights. But today especially, having seen even further deaths, further killings of civilians in Gaza, we stand with the Palestinian people and we stand for peace. But that peace will only come from the demand we make now for an immediate ceasefire. Ceasefire now. Solidarity.
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! And we take in another important message. No ceasefire, no vote. No ceasefire. No ceasefire. No ceasefire. No ceasefire. No ceasefire. What do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it? Now. And what do we want? Ceasefire. When do we want it? Now. We want justice. We want action. We want boycott. We want sanctions. We want justice. We want action. We want boycott. We want sanctions. We want justice. We want action. We want boycott. We want sanctions. We want justice. We want action. We want boycott. We want sanctions. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
I want to see everyone raising their placards as high as they can, raising their flags as high as they can, making as much noise as they can, so they can hear us, so the war criminals in that building over there can hear the voice of the British people. Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
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 Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now. 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 Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now.
And nice and loudly so they can hear us in there. No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! Our next speaker is from an organisation who have been instrumental in opposing this anti-BDS bill. Please give a very warm welcome to the Policy and Campaigns Officer from Liberty, the human rights group, June Pang.
Thank you so much to Palestine Solidarity Campaign for organizing this rally, and to all of you for showing up in spite of the cold weather and what are incredibly difficult circumstances for so many of us. History has shown us that governments frequently use moments of crisis to clamp down on our civil liberties. Over the past 3 months, we have seen hundreds of thousands, millions of people taking to the streets up and down the UK to demand change amidst an extreme deterioration of the situation in Gaza. But in response, the government has engaged in tactics of division. It's made provocative, inflammatory statements and sought to clamp down on our right to be heard. It is in this context that over there, the government has reintroduced the divisive, unevidenced, unworkable, and most important of all, fundamentally repressive anti-boycott bill or anti-BDS bill. We see the anti-boycott bill as a fundamental attack on the right to freedom of expression and as part of a wider trend of legislation such as the Policing Act, the Public Order Act, and the Strikes Act that systematically shuts down people's abilities to stand up for the things that they believe in and the causes that they hold dear. We are all gathered here today because the right to boycott is a cherished and protected form of protest that's used by campaigning groups across the UK and around the world throughout history to achieve change. We've already heard that it was vital to ending apartheid in South Africa, and it continues to be a powerful way to hold those in power to account, to put pressure on those in power to stop being complicit in human rights abuses, environmental damage, and climate crisis. The anti-boycott bill takes aim at this right, and I wanted to take some time to explain why it's so damaging and the impact that it could have on all of us. As we've already heard, what the bill does is to stop public bodies, and this includes universities, NHS trusts, democratically elected local councils, an immense range of public bodies, from making ethical investment and procurement decisions by banning them from taking into consideration things like foreign states' human rights abuses. The bill also contains an unprecedented gagging clause, which would ban public bodies from publishing statements that they would have boycotted if it were not illegal, effectively from banning them from making hypothetical statements. And if a public body does any of the things I've mentioned, they could face a massive financial penalty. Ultimately, what the bill does, and is aimed to do, is to create a chilling effect. It means that public bodies will come to see the very act of mentioning human rights abuses, environmental concerns in the context of these decisions as legal risks and act to deter them from happening. And in the US, anti-boycott laws of a similar kind have been used to clamp down on dissent, with people losing their jobs and their income merely for expressing their views. And while the bill only affects the decision-making of public bodies for now, its effect will be to sow fear and division and deter people from participating in boycott campaigns. Altogether, this is an unprecedented attack on the right to free expression and fundamentally free debate, which is vital to our democracy. And I want to highlight that obviously the reason the government is so keen to clamp down on our ability to stand up to power is because people power works. whether that is boycott campaigns, protests, strikes, or other forms of industrial action. People power works, which is why the people in power are afraid of it. So when they try to divide us, we will stand together. When they try to silence us, we will shout louder. And when they try and take away our rights, we will fight them tooth and nail. And we are so proud to stand together with so many of you and so many in the Right to Boycott Coalition to fight against this legislation. Thank you.
Thanks very much, June. Thank you. And I'm sure you all know that this Saturday is a global day of action for Gaza. We know, we've heard reports already that there are going to be demonstrations in over 30 countries across all the continents. There will be protests in over 60 cities. And where will you all be this Saturday? We will all be on the march in London. The National March for Palestine. And we're all meeting at 12 o'clock at the bank, and we're all marching here to Parliament. So please, do everything you can. Join that demonstration, bring many more. And let's make this demonstration in London one of the biggest global demonstrations for Gaza. And I know that we will be one of the biggest, because in our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. In our thousands, in our millions, we are all Palestinians. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Free, free, Palestine. 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 From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. And what are we telling them in there this evening, friends? No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! And friends, let's hear now from our next speaker, one of the great and strongest campaigners for peace and justice, for liberty in Palestine. Please welcome Asad Rehman from War on Want.
Yes. Thank you. I am proud to stand here as War on Want, saying we were one of the first UK organisations to answer the call of BDS to end Israeli apartheid, just as we did when the South African people made the call to end South African apartheid, because we believe for all peoples the right to stand alongside all those who fight for justice and call for BDS. Today, as we stand outside of here in Parliament, and MPs who lacked the moral courage
the moral courage, the moral integrity to call for an end to Israel's genocidal war against the Palestinian people are now voting to continue to not only shield Israel but attack one of our most basic of rights, the right of people with a conscience to refuse to be complicit with human rights violations, to refuse to be complicit with climate violence, to refuse to be complicit with corporations profiting from repression. It does make you wonder what is so attractive to politicians about injustice that they have to attack our most basic of rights. The irony, of course, is standing right in front of Parliament are two statues, one of Nelson Mandela and the other of Mahatma Gandhi, who both called for BDS to end colonialism and apartheid. And I'll tell you what, if they were alive today, they would be standing alongside us, calling for an end to settler colonialism and Israeli apartheid. But have you heard from our previous speakers, this attack on our right to boycott is part and parcel of an attack on all of our rights, on our right to strike, on our right to protest. It's about stopping ordinary people repulsed by apartheid, repulsed by genocide, of war crimes and crimes against humanity from doing what is right. That most basic of rights, saying, not in my name. And even as Israel stands in the dock for its genocidal actions tomorrow, starving the people and deliberately creating a famine, of preventing even water and fuel, of deliberately and willfully destroying its health systems, of murdering medics, doctors, journalists and aid workers. Totally agree. Free. When every single UN agency, human rights organisation, humanitarian organisation are not just screaming, are not just warning, but are shouting from every rooftop that Israel is engaged in horrors unparalleled in modern recent history. And it's our politicians who lack any shame, any moral integrity, any political integrity if they vote for this BDS bill tonight. And yes, let's be honest, Israel might have the United States and the UK to veto to protect it at the UN. Yes, Israel might have the UK government to try and repress our right to stand for justice. And yet, yes, Israel might have a foreign secretary who yesterday couldn't even know what international humanitarian law stood for, or couldn't even say that Israel was occupying Palestine. But friends, whilst Israel might have that, the Palestinian people have a much more powerful weapon, and that is the power of people. The power of people to veto. In every corner of the country, in this country, and in every corner of the world, millions and millions of people who are saying we refuse to be complicit in Israeli apartheid. Ordinary people who say we refuse to move the arms and the weapons of destruction that have killed 30,000 people. Ordinary people who are stopping our banks and our corporations from profiting from repression. And it is, remember, because whilst they think they might have the power, it is us as ordinary people who have changed history. It was us as ordinary people, even when David Cameron's own family were profiting from slavery, it was ordinary workers in Lancashire refusing to handle slave cotton. It was working class communities in East London boycotting slave-produced sugar. When our government was rolling out the red carpet for murderous dictators like Pinochet in Chile, it was ordinary workers who were refusing to move the weapons that were killing trade unions in Chile. And as somebody who's come up through the anti-racist movement, when our government was fueling racism, fascism, it was black community who used sanctions and boycotts and strikes to end racism in this country. And let me tell you, I'm old enough to remember when we stood outside this same parliament, when the government in there at the time was calling the ANC terrorists, when some of those politicians were even calling for Nelson Mandela to be hanged. And of course, it was us as ordinary people who answered that call for BDS and helped bring down South African apartheid. So, friends, yes, tonight they're going to ram through that illiberal bill. Yes, they will do it. But the reason why they've had to ram it through is really important. It's because they fear our collective power. They fear the power of solidarity. They fear the truth. They fear us as ordinary people raising the call for justice for Palestine. So, we all know, whilst they might be on the side of the oppressor, we are always on the side of the oppressed, and we are on the right side of history. So we will not stop. We will not stop marching. We will not stop raising our voices. We will not stop boycotting. We will not stop calling for BDS until there is a ceasefire now. But much more importantly, until we end Israeli occupation and Israeli apartheid. Thank you.
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
And nice and loudly for the war criminals in Parliament! We want justice!
We want justice!
We want action!
We want action!
We want boycott!
We want boycott!
We want sanctions!
We want sanctions!
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want action!
We want action!
We want boycott!
We want boycott!
We want sanctions!
We want sanctions!
We want justice!
We want justice!
We want action!
We want action!
We want boycott!
We want boycott!
We want sanctions!
We want sanctions!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
Now, friends, comrades, it's time to hear from our next speaker. Please give a very warm welcome to the General Secretary of the University and College Union, Joe Grady. Thank you. UCU is proud to be part of the Protect the Right to Boycott campaign, and I am so proud to be here with you tonight. The anti-boycott bill will limit the ability of public bodies, including our universities, to make ethical choices about investments. By singling out Israel alongside the occupied Palestinian territories, the bill actively grants impunity for violations of international law. In UCU, just recently, we lobbied the investment managers of our pension scheme to divest from companies involved in the ongoing assault on Gaza and Israel's illegal occupation of the West Bank. If this legislation is passed, it would be illegal for public sector unions, for example the local government pension scheme, to do the same. It is outrageous, and it attempts to prevent workers from deciding how their pension should be invested. It is our right to boycott. That this government has included universities in the scope of this bill is no surprise. They want to clamp down on protest, on free speech, on inclusivity, and a fundamental respect for each other. And I will end with this.
Whatever the vote tonight, tomorrow is an important day. Tomorrow, Israel will be required to defend itself at the World Court. We will hold public hearings in a case brought by our comrades in South Africa of genocide against the Palestinian people. It was boycott that starved oxygen from apartheid in South Africa. Millions of people acting globally out of solidarity with the South African people. It is the power of people that delivers justice, not governments. So friends, it is cold, but keep marching, keep fighting for the Palestinian people. Solidarity. And one last thing before I go. Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Louder! Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Thank you!
Thanks, Joe. Free, free!
Palestine!
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 In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
hide! Rishi Sunak, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Rishi Sunak, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide! Rishi Sunak, you can't hide! We charge you with genocide! Rishi Sunak, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Rishi Sunak, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Rishi Sunak, we charge you with genocide! We charge you with genocide! Netanyahu, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
Netanyahu, you can't hide!
We charge you with genocide!
No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! No ceasefire! In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
In our thousands, in our millions!
We are all Palestinians!
Make some noise! So don't forget, friends, Saturday is a global day of action for Gaza. Do everything you can to make sure there are hundreds of thousands on the streets of London joining together with the millions and millions that will be on the street across the world. This is what people power will look like. This is how we will bring change for Palestine and for the people of Gaza. Free, free!
Palestine!
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 Friends, I'm proud to introduce our next speaker. Please welcome Beth Winter, the MP for Cannon Valley. Welcome, Beth.
And thank you all for coming out this evening. This is the precise demonstration of why we must oppose this horrific, pernicious bill. The anti-boycott bill is an attack on human rights. It not only prevents, but it actually bars public bodies from using their democratic right to divest, boycott or use sanctions against those who commit acts of horrendous discrimination and acts of terrorism across the globe. So this is a peaceful protest, and that is why we must defend the right to boycott, divest and use sanctions. Many of you here this evening, like myself, would have been actively involved in the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. And at that time, over 100 local authorities across the UK were involved in the Stand Up Against Apartheid movement. And it had a huge impact. We cannot underestimate the influence of the boycott movement in the anti-apartheid movement against South Africa. And that right should and must remain. And I've just come out directly from the chamber, and the language being used, the inflammatory language by the Conservatives, drawing the need to use this legislation against anti-Semitism is absolutely appalling, the language and the descriptions are being used. We must stop that, and Palestinian people are calling on us. They have the right to determine their future. They want us.
They want the international community to use boycott, divestment and sanctions in order to support their cause. And that is something that must be defended. It is a peaceful means of expression, as we are doing here. If this bill passes, it will inflame tensions at a critical point in time when thousands of innocent civilians are being killed, not only in Palestine but in other conflicts across the globe. It is a vital, peaceful tool that we must defend. And there are risks in terms of our fundamental human rights for freedom of expression. It is an affront to our democratic rights, to the democratic rights of our elected local bodies. And as a Welsh person, it totally runs roughshod over devolution. And I'm pleased to say, as I always am, that in Wales, the Welsh Government has already made a commitment to oppose this piece of legislation coming into force in Wales. So the fight continues. This is another step on the journey that we have to follow, because this also will have a chilling effect and is likely to result in further restrictions. We've already had so many horrendous pieces of legislation passed by this UK government, but your voices count. Do not underestimate the power of the public voice. So keep shouting, keep fighting, and we will win. Solidarity.
Thanks, Beth, and thanks very much to the Welsh Government. Not only will they oppose this bill, but they've also called for a ceasefire. So well done, Wales. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Brick by brick, wall by wall, Israeli apartheid has to fall. Free, free! Palestine! 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 Friends, I'm going to welcome now our final speaker at this evening's rally. Please really give a big welcome to Ben Jamal, Director of the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. Welcome.
Thank you, Kate. I want to thank you all for coming. Now let me deal first of all with this anti-boycott bill. For over 2 years, we at the Palestine Solidarity Campaign have been bringing together a huge coalition of more than 70 organisations in opposition to this pernicious bill. It is a big and broad coalition. It contains more than a dozen trade unions, climate justice groups including Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth, Liberty, Amnesty International, the Methodist Church, the Quakers, the Muslim Association of Britain, the Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, the Stop the War Coalition, and many, many more. And as you have heard tonight, we are all, and we remain united in our view that this bill is a pernicious bill that will suppress a wide range of legitimate campaigns for social, international and climate justice, and presents a serious threat to freedom of expression and the ability of public bodies to make ethical investment decisions. But we know the core target of this bill. It is the campaign for Palestinian rights, and in particular the Palestinian call for boycott, divestment and sanctions. Now there is a particularly grotesque clause in this bill which offers a special protection to Israel to uniquely shield it from accountability measures. If this passes, then what it will mean is that no public body, no council, no pension scheme, no university can make a decision to divest from a company that is supporting Israel's system of apartheid, no matter what action Israel takes. And what is the justification for this? What is the justification for this bill? Well, it is the argument that if you are calling for boycott in response to Israel's egregious violations of international law and human rights, then you are calling for something anti-Semitic because Israel is a Jewish state. It is a foul and grotesque argument that demeans the struggle against all forms of racism, including anti-Semitism. It conflates all Jewish people with the actions of Israel, and it treats Palestinians by a different standard than any other oppressed people. Imagine trying to make an argument that those campaigning for action against China because of its treatment of the Uyghur people must be motivated by a hatred of all Chinese people. Imagine making the argument that those who campaigned for decades to boycott South African apartheid must have been motivated by a hatred of white South Africans or white people in general. Now we know that it would be a disgrace to bring this bill at any time, but to bring it at this moment, to bring it back to this House of Commons at this moment is a moral outrage, which, if it is possible, adds even further shame to our current government. Be in no doubt, if this bill passes, then the message that will be delivered from our Parliament, from our political leaders to the Palestinian people is this: we know that more than 23,000 of you have been killed, including more than 10,000 children. We know that thousands more of you are missing, buried under the rubble of your homes. And yet at this moment, when there is a legitimate case supported by hundreds of scholars of crimes against humanity, reinforced now by the South African government, a case to be made that Israel is undoubtedly launching a genocide against you, and at this moment, when the Israeli government is openly discussing and planning for the ethnic cleansing of millions of you, promising you a Nakba worse than the original Nakba of 1948, at this moment, we, the British government, we, the British Parliament, will not only refuse to call for a ceasefire, but we will devote our time and our energy to bring in measures to block your ability to call for legitimate, non-violent action to protect your rights. Shame, shame, shame upon them. Now friends, we know that this bill is likely to pass this night's vote, but the battle to defeat it is not ended. We have mobilised huge opposition to this bill, and now we will take that battle to the House of Lords. And with your help, we will win that battle in the House of Lords. So we need you to keep up the pressure, to put the pressure now on members of the House of Lords to do the right thing and consign this bill to the dustbin of history. But in the meantime, we need you out on the streets again with us on Saturday, where we will march, this time as part of a global day of action for Gaza. We will be joined on Saturday Saturday by people marching in more than 30 countries, in over 60 cities, across 6 continents, millions of people united in calling for a ceasefire and for the genocide to end. But right now, before you head home, I want you to join me in giving this promise to the Palestinian people and this message to those currently debating in the House of Commons. We will never stop marching. We will never stop protesting. We will never stop boycotting until a ceasefire is called, until the occupation is ended, until apartheid is dismantled, and until the Palestinian people enjoy what is their birthright: freedom, justice and equality in their historic homeland. Free, free! Free, free! Free, free! From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed, Ben. We will take your message to heart. We will mobilise on Saturday. We will join together in our hundreds of thousands, in our millions across the globe. And we know that whatever happens in that house tonight, the struggle continues. We will have political victory. We will win it in the House of Lords, and we will continue our campaigning, our protesting, our marching until the Palestinians are free and victory is theirs. Safe journey home.
We are millions! We are all Palestinians! In our millions! In our billions! We are all Palestinians! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Gaza, don't you cry! We will never let you die! Gaza, don't you cry! We will never let you die! Gaza, don't you cry! We will never let you die! Gaza, don't you cry! We will never let you die! Gaza, don't you cry! We will never let you die! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Free, free! Palestine! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!